Hello BookTube, this is my 900th video, and I'm going to do a Q&A. Usually when booktubers who make videos reach certain milestones, subscriber counts, video counts, just general reasons, it's traditional to do something special, usually a Q&A, sometimes creating an original tag. I opted to do a Q&A, so these are my answers to your questions. I have my Q&A call up, and I have the questions in the comments that I will read off. So thank you for everybody who left questions, especially Choco1199 who left a bevy of questions. So let's get going, starting with Bill Rutenberg. Question number, who himself has a bevy of questions, 5. What has been the best part of being involved with BookTube? I would say the best part of being, the best part of being involved in BookTube, either as a commenter or as an active booktuber, or the filmmaking part of it, is the sense of community. I don't really have a bookish community around me, so watching videos, making videos, it provides a sense of community that I treasure. And it does beat talking to myself, although in a way I'm still talking to myself. But anyway, question number 2. What has been the worst part of being involved with BookTube? I don't know if I'm quite being fair to BookTube, but the chaos that my reading has been over the past few years since I've become an active booktuber. When I started BookTube, my bookish identity was fairly set in stone. I was primarily a science fiction and fantasy reader who would occasionally read history or canonical works, maybe more contemporary literary fiction, or whatever you want to call that genre, and the occasional graphic novel or comic book collection, manga. But since I've become an active booktuber, my reading life, my reading identity has been in flux, to where I've struggled to enjoy most of the science fiction I've read. I gravitated for a few years to history, but that's seeming to ebb, and now I'm really going mad for manga, which is enjoyable. I'm having a blast, and I definitely feel passionate about it. But particularly when I talk about it. So it's, yeah. And I guess also maybe the sense of some of my reading being dictated to sort of fit into the conversation rather than sometimes of what I would rather be reading. But anyway, I think that I'll sort of touch on that in a later question. So question number 3, do you have any advice for anyone thinking about starting a BookTube channel? My advice would be to just do it. Just try it out. Either do some, if you would like to do some dry runs, which is what I did. I love book hauls, so before I started my channel, I would periodically do a dry run of a library haul, because I used to go to one of my local libraries fairly heavily, although thanks to the pandemic, not so much. But just, do some dry runs, do some test videos, see if you enjoy it. Don't really sweat whether you have the technical skills or editing skills to make a more polished product. I mean, what really makes a great booktube channel is really the passion for books, not how spiffy the production values are. Question number 4. Who is your favorite booktuber? Oh, I have a lot of booktubers that I really enjoy, but I don't think I have one that it's my absolute number one favorite. And I know this is a bit of a punt of a answer, but yeah, there's no real single absolute 100% my favorite booktuber. Question number 5. What are the top 3 reading events you are involved in with BookTube? What are their selling points? Convince us to join them. So I don't know if I have 3 favorite BookTube events I'm involved in. I periodically get involved in BookTube events. I mean, that is one of the great communal aspects of BookTube. But except for Nonfiction November, I struggle with actually enjoying the books I pick. I mean, for me, the fun part about various BookTube events is sort of the creation of the TBR, of thinking about the event, thinking about the possible books you could pick, pulling from your shelves, whether these are books that you've just brought into your library or you've had for however length of time, months, years, that you haven't gotten to, that now would be a great time to have a look at them, to add them to an active TBR, or to go out and accumulate those books, whether through the library or through purchases, although that has some issues as well. And just that curation of the TBR, that I really find enjoyable. When it actually comes to the reading of the books that I picked, I have not much more. I don't really have that much success. It's maybe 1 or 2, but like I struggle to really enjoy what I'm reading. It, which I guess is kind of cycles into some of the worst aspects of it. Is sometimes what I pick I don't quite enjoy, and that kind of sours the whole experience, although I keep trying. If at first I don't succeed, try again. But I would like to, excuse me, sell you on Nonfiction November, which is a great opportunity to really engage with nonfiction if you're not a nonfiction reader. Because nonfiction is a really great genre of literature that sadly gets overlooked. I mean, not only is it informative, but there's great writing, and you can also be inspired for it or by it. So, and Nonfiction November is a relatively easy way to engage with nonfiction. The prompts are open-ended, and you don't really actually need to follow them. You could just read whatever nonfiction you've been meaning to get to. So thank you, Bill, for those questions. Next, I'm going to answer 2 batches from Choco 1199. And Choco, thank you for your bevy of questions. So the first question from Choco is, would you rather have the superpower of being able to read lightning fast or being able to get along with everyone? I think I would prefer being able to get along with everyone. I would really prefer that superpower over being able to read lightning fast. I mean, yeah, being able to accumulate vast swaths of information, or which is really the purpose of reading lightning fast would be. Because I actually really like my reading speed. It is rather slow, and sometimes I'm a bit envious of uh, readers who can read faster than I can. But I also actually rather enjoy the speed at which I read. But I do have anxiety, social anxiety, or I am incredibly shy, and I actually would like to be able to get along with everyone. So I'll go with that one as the superpower. And the second question is, how is your story writing going? Did you end up writing the one about the boy who didn't like his hometown and had a cool older brother? Oh, okay. Okay, now I kind of get it. So so let's take so how's my writing going? It's going okay. So I had a writing project I did for Camp NaNoWriMo, which happened in April for some odd reason, because you would think it would be like two summer writing events, but oh well. It's NaNoWriMo. What can you expect? Um, so I wrote the first 35 chapters of a superhero story called Scorpius. So my intention with Scorpius was to basically write the first draft of a comic book script. And since what I wanted is going to be a bit longer than 35 chapters, I kind of just settled on getting to the first big story arc, which I did, and it was a blast. I really enjoyed it. Um, I do think comics are probably my preferred medium, even though there's like a hurdle, a big one, a wall, really, that I would have to cross. I mean, it's writing a novel is one thing, or writing prose fiction is one thing. You, as the writer, are the only person, the only creative working. But when it comes to comics, which is the genre of writing that I really find myself most inspired by, there's there's the art, which I'm not that great at, to put it mildly. I'm fairly good at pastel um, for a beginner, but illustrative narrative art or narrative illustration has never quite been my strong suit. Drawing has never been my strong suit when it comes to art. So there's that. So I've been trying to rack my brains on how to turn my superhero idea into a novel, and I'm stymied. I just don't know what to do. Um, so for the second part of this question, did I end up writing the one about the boy who didn't like his hometown and had a cool older brother? I think you're kind of conflating two of the ideas I had. So one idea was about a young man who didn't like his hometown, and the plot of the story was him, like a conflict between him trying, like doing everything he could to leave, which would be to go to college after he graduates from high school in that summer, but at the same time, sort of engaging with the community as well in a more in a more antagonistic way. And the other story was Scorpius. Um, the cool older brother was Scorpius. Scorpius's older brother is. I had the intention of him being cool, and he did turn out that way. So it was Scorpius, not the one with the kid who hated his hometown. So moving on to With a Crown 1945. Thank you for your question. What got you to start making videos? Do you find bad or good books more memorable? Uh, so I'd been wanting to make videos for a while. So I discovered BookTube in 2016, and I loved watching those videos. And then in 2017, I discovered Steve Donahue and a few others who were more this corner of BookTube. And I loved their videos. And then in 2018 and in 2019, I started to seriously think about making videos myself. Because again, I really don't have a bookish community around me. And since in a way, making a video is kind of like talking to myself, and I already do that, particularly bookish conversation, I thought it wouldn't be that difficult to do. So I did some test runs. I did some library hauls that I kind of eventually kind of got into it. So I decided to eventually make videos. So my intention when I first started making videos was to focus on science fiction and fantasy, particularly the science fiction and fantasy that is really good that nobody else on BookTube was talking about. And that lasted for the first 2 or 3 months of my channel before whatever happened between me and science fiction and fantasy happened at the end of 2019. So yeah. So do I find bad or good books more memorable? Both actually. It depends. Some books that I hate, I think, are more memorable in a way. But I think actually the books I really enjoy, the books I love, I think do come out on top as being more enjoyable. Although the books I hate are more fun to review. More like renting them from them, but anyway. So back to Choco 1199. So their next question is, what is something you regret in your past? What is something you would regret if you died without doing it? So I've been thinking about this question for a while, and my initial answer was there was a moment when I was in 8th grade when a boy I had a crush on, young man, he was, of course, in my grade, passed me a love note, and I didn't do anything about it, and I regret that, even though it is highly likely that he and his friends probably would have beat me up, because he was kind of a douche, which unfortunately I'm attracted to douches, but anyway. But the more I think about it, the more the world is turning. I'm thinking my biggest regret is not leaving Texas when I had the chance, and not really making a concerted effort to leave Texas. Although, the way things are going, maybe leaving the country probably would be a good idea at some point, but unfortunately, I don't have the means to do so. Even though the way things are going, I'm not entirely sure there's anywhere safe in the world anymore. And something I would regret if I died without doing it, probably publishing a novel or a comic book would be, I think, something that I would regret not doing. Next question. And again, Choco 1199. If you could live anywhere in the world, where would you choose? I've always been attracted. A part of me would like to live in Canada, but also there's a part of me that is very attracted to Great Britain, to England. So either Canada or England, or maybe Australia. Uh, New Zealand is a lovely country, but also I think I would have loved to have lived in Japan at some point, too. So it's a lot. I wish I were a world traveler, um, which I guess is yet another regret. Do you have any tips for a beginner writer? Um, I think I'll echo Steve's piece of advice to just start writing and to write as often as you can, because that is one way to improve your writing and to really build up those muscles. Um, but also, don't be afraid to experiment, to try different genres, different forms, to discover what kind of writing works best for you. Although certain kinds of writing have added hurdles that are more difficult than others. And also, I would recommend maybe finding a circle of friends who also are interested in writing, or um, writing groups or something, so that you can pass around your writing, so that you have other sets of eyes to sort of catch things that you may not catch, which is one problem of writing in a vacuum. And I think, oh yeah, that wraps up the questions. So again, thank you, Without a Crown. 39.45. I think I said 14.95, but Without a Crown, 39.45. Chucko 11.99, and Bill Rutenberg for your questions. These were blast.